If you're afraid to stay keto or carnivore when you go out, when you eat out, you won't get the health benefits you're trying to achieve. And what sucks about that is that it's going to keep you eating the fast food, junk food options when you go out to eat. And that increases the likelihood that you're going to be chasing processed food again. Now, if you're new here, I'm Violet, and it's my mission to help you to eat healthy every day and stop food companies from ruining your health, the health of my family, the health of my friends. I want us to eat better. So, do you feel awkward eating keto or carnivore when you go out in public? I feel like one of the reasons that happens to us is because dieting is seen as a failure. If you are on a diet, that means, or we're told, it doesn't mean that, but we're told that something is wrong with us, that we couldn't just manage to eat the normal food and be at a healthy weight. But the problem is, most of us are not able to eat the healthy food. Sorry, the healthy food, their consideration of healthy food. It's junk food, wellness warriors. But most of us are not able to eat the standard Canadian, American, wherever you live diet and stay at a healthy weight. And for the few of us that do, I have a little secret for you. If this poor quality, obesogenic diet isn't causing you to gain weight, it's causing other internal damage, right? That's why we have all these healthy, thin, strong-looking people who are diabetic or have heart problems or have blood pressure, all kinds of other problems, PCOS. So now, there's another reason that people struggle to eat out when they are carnivore, especially because it doesn't look ladylike, right? Like when I went out with Pat for our anniversary, we went to this really nice restaurant and they had some really nice pork chops on the menu. But first of all, the one pork chop that I would have gotten on my plate, because I asked about the size, was about half, maybe even like less than half of a serving that I would have had at home. So I needed to order 2. Add to that, I didn't want anything else that they were going to put on the plate. And you can imagine I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my server and I'm saying, yeah, I want 2 meals, just the meat. So I have that conversation with my server, but then I also said, does that look ladylike? She's just having a big plate of meat. So that's another reason that I know that we struggle, because a lot of us ladies just don't want to look like we are purposefully overeating, and even us guys, you don't want to go and look like you just, like you don't care about your health, right? It's hard. And I get it. It's awkward. And I get it. We don't want to bother the waitress or the hostess or the whoever, the person that's serving us. We don't want to bother the waiter and telling them that, please, can we make some changes to the menu to switch things around, because what you're serving isn't going to work for us, because we think it's going to be a big hassle to the people in the back to the way they're going to put things on the plate, and they have to keep us in mind. And we don't want to call attention to ourselves, for sure, because again, dieting's shameful, correct? But we don't want to bother people. And not wanting to bother people, not wanting to be center of attention, not wanting the world to know that I have a weight problem, even though when I was 80 pounds overweight, you could just look at me and see that I had a weight problem. But all these things that we end up hiding from stops us from eating our healthy diet when we go out. There's another thing that sometimes stops us from eating the healthy diet when we go out, though, and it's not knowing what to order. When we're at home and we're cooking recipes that perhaps we got from influencers or a cookbook or something, and we're cooking the recipe without really knowing why is that recipe keto or carnivore. Well, carnivore is more obvious, but even carnivore can get you in trouble when you go out because they put things on the meat. For example, one of my favorite barbecue places back before I became keto was a place where the ribs were delicious. Now I understand, because they were covered in sugar and it wasn't healthy at all. Like, they took ribs, which are one of the healthiest, it's just meat, right? It's not healthy. And they made it not healthy by putting sugar all over it. So sometimes if we don't know why cooking it this way is healthy, cooking it this way is not healthy, then we're going to struggle to go out to eat. And we're not going to be able to go out and do things with our friends and family, right? And of course, you have the most common reason that people struggle to eat their healthy keto or carnivore lifestyle out in public, which is that the normal food just looks more fun. It looks more appealing than what I would have to eat. And that's because I have that mentality that I have to eat boring food. I have to eat unfun food. But guess what? It's not that boring when you actually like what you're eating, which is a whole other conversation. I have a video about that I put up recently. If we don't figure out, Wellness Warrior, how to eat healthy when we go outside of our house, if we don't figure it out, the food companies have won, and we can't have that. We can't have the food companies telling us that we're weirdos because we eat the way we eat. There's something wrong with it. We're strange, right? We need to feel good about what we're doing. And if we let them keep telling us that we're the special ones, we're the odd ones out because we're eating healthy, the food companies keep pushing this garbage at us, right? They say, oh, you guys, you need to restrict yourselves. That's why you're overweight, right? So yes, you need to eat that special diet. You're restricting yourself. That's what they want us to believe, on this where that we are odd. Not the fact that our planet has been increasing in obesity since about 1970, 72, something like that. That it's not just North America anymore. It's spreading across the globe, that we're just becoming heavier and heavier, and not because of muscle, because of fat. If we don't solve this problem, the food companies continue to win. So I'm going to give you some tips for how you can eat out at a restaurant, at a family gathering, at a party, how you can eat out and actually live your life like everybody else without eating the food that's harming everybody else. The first tip that I want you to think about is you're going to choose the restaurant. If you choose the restaurant, then you have two things that are going to happen. You're either going to choose a restaurant where for example, I would choose a steakhouse or a chicken place because they're proud of their meat. Their meat is the star of the show. So any veg that they might put on my plate, it's going to be minimal. They are proud of the actual meats that they cook. It could even be a fish place. If you like fish, choose a restaurant where you know for sure that you're going to get the healthy stuff, right? Another good option here is when you're choosing the restaurant, choose restaurants that actually have the food information. Like, so there's a lot of restaurants that will tell you how much carb is actually on the plate if they're aware of that kind of stuff, but they'll minimally tell you about calories. And when you go to a restaurant that's talking about calorie count, they're expecting the healthy people to come in there. And guess what? If they're expecting the healthy people to come in there, when you start asking for adjustments and changes to the way things are presented, they're not surprised. They're okay with it, right? That's what they're expecting that to happen. And therefore, you get the meal that you enjoy while being out with your friends and family. The other thing you can do is choose a familiar restaurant, right? A restaurant that you go to often. Why? There's a bunch of reasons for this, and they're also great. First of all, you can walk in and just get your usual because you know what you can eat there. Okay? That's the best reason to do it. But second of all, you won't feel awkward at that restaurant, right? You've been to that restaurant enough times where you've made your adjustments, that the staff probably knows you, and you feel at home there. They feel at home with you. They're going to walk up and with a smile and say, "Hey, how you guys doing today?" Da, 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 da. They're going to do the thing. I know this because it happens to Pat and I when we go to our favorite restaurant. That we walk in and it's like, "Hey guys, how you doing? Oh, you want to sit over there? You want a booth? We know you want a booth, right?" They just know us, right? It's like, you know what you want, right? Okay, and we can order right away because they know. Be comfortable when you go out is the best way that you can make sure that you actually eat on plan. What do we do if they choose or if they're hosting? Well, let's start with if they choose the restaurant. So if they choose the restaurant, I want you to look at the menu online because usually restaurants nowadays have menus online. If they don't, call the restaurant. What you're looking for is what kind of accommodations you can get made for how you eat. So, do they have a meat option that you think you're going to enjoy with, and you can call, when you call, you can find out how do they cook it, and then what side dishes they have and what switches you can make. And for the worst case scenario, like I said at the beginning, when we would go to the restaurant, I guess it's not worst case scenario for me. That's the best case scenario for me. But for some people, it might be the worst case scenario. Just eat the meat. And when I say just eat the meat, I even order my plate without the veg. I don't want it on my plate. I don't even want it touching my meat and making my meat look gross. So you can just order how you want to order, right? Restaurants are used to people having sensitivities and allergies. So it's not so weird that someone might come in and have some questions for them before they make their order. So I want you to talk to your restaurant servers, call in advance, do the things that help you to eat on plan every single time. And then keep your meal simple, right? Like, this doesn't need to be complicated. I feel like when we go out to a restaurant, we want the meal to be this amazing, dynamic, fun thing because we are not cooking the meal. And so if we're going to pay someone to cook it, we want it to be doing, backflips and all kinds of stuff. It doesn't need to be doing. The meal needs to taste good and be healthy, right? So on your side, focus on what meat you plan to order and understand that if there's any side dishes on your plate, those are for fun. They're not food, wellness warrior. Even the vegetables, they're for fun. The meat with the accompanying fat, so whether it's a steak, a pork chop, some eggs, some fish, the fat that came along with the protein source is actually what builds and fuels a healthy body. And that fat builds you too. Don't forget. So keep it as simple as possible. If you're going to have some salad on the side, if you're going to have some vegetables on the side, understand they're there for fun, which then allows you to do the other really important thing. Walk into the restaurant with this idea in your head, wellness warrior. Skip dessert. It's only going to ruin everything we just accomplished, right? You came here, you ate on plan, you had a good, satisfying meal. Skip dessert. So if you walk in the door understanding that I'm not having dessert, or perhaps that my dessert is going to be a delicious hot cup of coffee or tea, whatever your preference, have that. Be happy with that. So you need to be prepared to say no thank you to the dessert menu, no matter what, right? The next thing you're going to do is focus your attention on socializing. You're here to see your friends, your family, not to eat. And even when the family scenario, so when it's a party at a person's house, your family wants you to come to the event because they want you present. They want you to celebrate with them. They're not looking for you to specifically eat everything they make. So I'll give you the example. If you go to a party of any kind, even if it's a sit-down dinner party, my family understands that I'm not going to eat most of the stuff that they've put on the table. Why? I've been doing this for 6 years. They get it. My friends as well. If you invite me over, I might have a little bit of veg if the veg is appropriate. And today I wouldn't have any. I'll have some meat if the meat is appropriate. If you cook something that for me isn't healthy food, I'm just going to have none of it at all. Why? There's no reason for me to eat something that's going to harm my health. The most important thing that I can do is to help myself by having fun at the party, enjoying my time with all of you, right? And I leave the food for the people who are going to enjoy the food. They don't know what they're doing to themselves. That's not for me to fix, right? It is absolutely doable to go out, even to a restaurant, by the way, and not eat. I've done it multiple times. If there's nothing on the menu that I can eat, but I want to see the people, I will still go. But I acknowledge that makes me look even weirder. And I get it. I see it. I know that's a hard thing to do, right? But I do it. Why do I do it? I accept that some people will just find keto, carnivore, the things I'm doing weird, strange, right? They're not going to believe it's going to do my health any good. I get it. They don't believe it. They're not going to believe it's going to do me long-term good at all. But I see the good that I'm living. I feel better. I'm stronger. I'm sleeping better. I have more. I'm exercising every morning. I can honestly tell you that wasn't a thing for me before. I see the benefit. So because not so many people do keto, carnivore, it seems unnatural. It seems weird. It seems off. But I can guarantee you that over time of hanging out with your friends, the novelty will wear off. And they're going to go back to not caring what you eat because before you started keto or carnivore, they didn't care what you ate. And especially if you are getting healthier, if they see, let's say you had a weight issue to manage and your weight normalizes, they're going to be like, hey, obviously it's working. Go for it. If like me, you started off because you had hip pain and issues and you needed to have that be solved, you're going to be like, okay, there you go. It's working for you. We don't care what other people are eating. And eventually you just stop paying attention. You need to change your mindset and focus your goal on better health. That's part of the problem that we have. We are so focused on what other people are going to think about us. We are so focused on what other people get to do so we're like this fear of missing out thing that we're always talking about, that we're not focused on how does my body feel? We're not focused on, am I able to think clearly? We're not focused on, am I able to live my life the way that I want to live my life? Do the things in life that I actually want to do. Am I doing these things happily? And for a lot of us, the answer is no. For a lot of us, we are not living the life that we want to live, but then we eat the chips because, Fred got to eat chips, so I'm going to eat chips too. But Fred isn't living the hip pain that I was living. So why would I care if Fred eats chips when me eating them causes my hip to hurt? And this is the thing that we're not thinking about, Wellness Warrior. It doesn't matter if somebody else can do something if me doing it puts me in a bad situation right now. And I say right now because Again, we think that these things are harmless. They're not. But some of us, depending on how much of it we've had, will take longer to get there. And some of us, depending on how much we've had, will get there much faster. I grew up in a household where large amounts of rice, pasta, potatoes, and carrots, and dumpling, which is just flour and sugar, on your plate was the norm from about the age of 2. And it never stopped. And so, yes, was I eating too much carb? Sandwiches for lunch every day. Was I eating too much carb? Was I harming my body excessively and rather quickly? Of course, because by 23-ish, my knees were a mess, Wellness Warrior. And it just got worse. My knees, my elbows, my back, my shoulders, my neck. Eventually, I couldn't turn my neck. I mean, it blows my mind when I stop and think about that I was getting chiropractic appointments from around the age of 40, and they probably would have continued through my entire life because I was eating too much sugar. We need to change our mindset. We need to focus on having a good, healthy body, good, healthy mind, being strong, being healthy. The other thing you need to do when you go out, if you want to be comfortable when you're out, is we need to not preach about what we're eating and tear down what other people are eating. We need to not defend ourselves either. It's not my job first of all, what's on my plate is on my plate. Pay attention to your plate. I pay attention to my plate, right? I shouldn't have to defend what I'm eating, and I leave other people alone. When they're ready to know, they will ask questions. If they're not asking questions because they're not ready to know, and that's okay. You know what? When I first figured out that it was sugar causing my hip to hurt, and then I figured out what I would need to do, like what I would need to eat and not eat to fix my hip, I did another month and a half of research. 1, because I couldn't believe it. And 2, because I didn't understand how I would be able to do it. And yet somehow I did it. So if I could do it, I know that you can do it. Right? What you need to do when you're at that restaurant is order your food. Just order your food. Right? Don't pay attention to anybody else. Don't preach to them about what they're doing. Just order your food. And then you need to decide that this is your goal and go for it, Wellness Warrior. Yes, sometimes it's going to be awkward. Yes, sometimes you're going to feel like the odd person out. I can tell you that when I'm sitting in a restaurant with everybody eating and I'm having coffee, at the beginning, I felt really weird about it. But the more I realized that me having the coffee allowed me to still have fun with the people that I'm out with. So I was there and I'm engaging, right? I'm not withdrawing and at home by myself and can't go anywhere, can't do anything. Trust me, if you stop going out because you can't eat like everybody else and you feel that loneliness, that isolation that comes with never being at the party, that fear of missing out really will start to be a fear of missing out because you're missing it on the right thing. You're missing on the real thing, which is social interaction. The social interaction is what you are actually needing, Wellness Warrior. Don't allow your fear of eating correctly to stop you from being out. So yeah, there's some restaurants that I go to. I won't even eat the chicken because it's fried and I know in the back in those oils that are going to harm my health. So, or breaded and whatever. Like if I can't get a piece of meat that was minimum grilled, I know they put a little bit of oil on the grill to but at least it's not soaking into the meat. My body seems to be handling that not too bad. So if I can't get a grilled piece of meat or fish or something, then I'll have coffee. Right? If you go for what's good for your health, then other people's opinions and their annoyance, frustration, whatever, the fact that you make them feel bad because you aren't eating the garbage that they're eating, because that's another reason that they're going to make comments, right? Because they think that you think you're better than them. I don't think I'm better than anybody. I used to eat that junk that you're eating now. I just figured it out. I just allowed myself to really look at what happens when I take the food out of my diet. How did I feel? And then if I had like, there were two incidents. I had a strawberry one time and my mouth wanted to beat me up for putting that in my mouth. It tasted so bad to me, overly sweet. And what I mean when I say so bad to me. But the other thing was I ate a piece of potato that nowhere came near to the carb count that should have put me over, and realized that it's not just the carbohydrates that's harming me. There's other things. So oxalates, solanine, tannins, lectins, all kinds of stuff in our food, and the seed oils, all kinds of stuff that are naturally in our foods when we call vegetation food, which I really am encouraging you to stop doing. But then you have all the chemical stuff that's in the fake food that they put in there knowing that they harm us. By the way, are you aware that they're actually allowed to put sawdust in our food and call it fiber? Would you knowingly eat sawdust? Put it in the comments if you would like stop buying a food if you knew that there was sawdust in it, first of all, or if you're cool with it. I would love to know. Are you cool with that? But they can call it fiber, which then you don't know that is actually sawdust. Okay. The reality, wellness warrior, is that in order for you to be comfortable eating out, you need to start. You need to do it. You need to go out and start eating out. And I'm going to encourage you that the best way to start is to start by going out with your spouse or your kids, because they love you and they accept how you eat and they don't care. They just want you to be healthy and they want you to have fun, right? They want you to be able to go out. They want you to be able to go to parties. They want you to be able to socialize. One of the number one things that people ask is, how will I socialize if I'm not eating what everybody else is eating? You socialize by realizing socializing is not about eating the wrong thing. Socializing is about being with people and having fun and sharing stories and sharing experiences. And we need to stop calling fueling and nourishing our body experiences. That's another thing that I really hope will change in the coming years, right? The fact that we call eating out an experience, it shouldn't be. You eat food because you need to eat food. And that shouldn't be the experience. The experience is the people that are with you. The experience is, maybe we have the meal and then we go do something amazing. And that's the experience where you got to move, or maybe do the moving first and then eat. I don't know. Depends on how everybody's different. But we need to stop allowing ourselves to look at eating of the meal as the fun part. Right? But if you go out with your family, with your kids, that's going to get you out there in the world, right? Surrounded by other people. So you're surrounded by people who love you, and then you'll be in the world with people who don't know you. And your family is going to talk with you, and we're going to enjoy our time, and they're going to help you to feel comfortable, right? By having conversations and just having a good time. And if you do that repeatedly, right, just keep doing it over and over and over again, eventually you're not going to be worrying about it, right? You're just going to be happy that you went out and you had a good meal with your family. And so I didn't have to cook. He didn't have to cook. Okay, neither of us had to cook, right? The people at the other table don't matter. And we need to stop worrying about what they're thinking. We need to stop worrying about the fact that they're looking at my plate and all they're seeing is, they're seeing a bunch of meat, or all they're seeing is that I have eggs and sausage and bacon and like no bread, no, not even the fruit. Like, don't put that on my table. Like, Who cares? Who cares? This is my plate. Pay attention to your plate, right? That I have double sausage and double bacon shouldn't bother you. Pay attention to your plate. This is what we need to be able to think in our head. Because if we don't have new thoughts about what we're doing, then we're just going to mindlessly do what we do at home, right? And then when I go out, I'll mindlessly do what everybody else is doing. And if I do that, that means that, first of all, I don't understand how my body will get healthy, because even if I'm eating the wrong thing once or twice a week, Wellness Warrior, like that has an exponential impact on my health because I'm insulin resistant. So for everybody who is here, who's trying to lose weight, the fact that you're overweight talks about the fact that your body is insulin resistant. If you have inflammation issues like what I had, the fact that you have inflammation issues talks about the fact that you have insulin resistance. If you have any kind, like there's a lot of metabolic health issues that if you have them, your body is insulin resistant. So if I'm insulin resistant, then each time that I eat off plan, it's not like when I wasn't insulin resistant, where I'd have a normal insulin rise, my body would take care of that sugar, and then I would go on with my normal life. No harm. Well, very little harm, but no foul. When you're insulin resistant, you don't have a normal spike. You have a normal rise. You have a spike, right? A spike, Wellness Warrior. And your spikes, just like your normal insulin rises, again, I'm insulin resistant. My normal insulin rises take longer to come down because I'm insulin resistant. Therefore, my spikes take longer to come down because I'm insulin resistant. What this means, what we need to understand, is that I'm putting my body in a scenario where insulin is higher longer than it should have been, longer than it needed to be, because while I was eating healthy, when I was doing keto and keeping my insulin at normal levels, it was trying its best to come back down to the best possible place, which is what we're trying to do. We're trying to get our insulin back to normal variation rather than always be in spiking and then trying to get back to normal. If I eat off plan, even if it's once or twice a week, that situation keeps my insulin resistance moving forward. And that's not what we want. The food that you eat determines the quality of the body that you're building. It determines how your internals are functioning. It determines everything, Wellness Warrior. Every single bite that you take matters, because every single bite that you take is building something, fueling something, or destroying something. Can we just stop and understand that? You're either building something or you're destroying something. There's no in-betweens. So I really want us to stop allowing the food company lie that one time doesn't matter to be the party line that we use when we go out to eat that lets us eat off plan, because one time matters, right? Garbage isn't harmless fun. It's a setup to remain out of control, to keep craving garbage, to keep ruining your health, and of course, to keep giving the food companies your money. That's the number one reason that they want to keep you eating the wrong things, right? They want your money for their fake food. And then they can funnel you off into the next step where the other company is going to take your money for weight loss help. That's not real, because it's calories in, calories out and shit that doesn't work. And then they're going to funnel you off into the next little section where they're going to take your money for medical interventions. to help you to lose weight and to solve the health issues that you've grown from eating the fake food back at number one, right? And that, of course, you're going to give money to the medical for for medication and maybe for some surgeries or processes that you're going to do, right? To solve your weight and solve your health issues that you wouldn't have had if you weren't eating the fake food in the first place. And I'm not going to say that you're never going to get sick. That's not what I'm saying. But my health issues at 23 were absolutely avoidable. All of the doctors that I saw about my knees, my back, my elbows, all the physiotherapy that I did before I started my chiropractic appointments, I did physiotherapy in my late 20s, early 30s, right? I don't talk about that much, and then the medication that they told me that I might need when my hip was really bad. And of course, the upcoming surgery that I would have needed for my hip replacement eventually, because it needed to be bad enough first. Never once telling me that, oh, by the way, but if you stop eating sugar, and by sugar, clarifying all carbohydrates, your hip problem would go away. You wouldn't need the surgery. Never once was I told that wellness warrior, even though it's documented, not only in research, but they use the information about sugar to make medications because they need to target parts of us that are not working, right? They need to target and they use sugar because they know that cells, right? Like this information is known. It's known. It bothers me that it's known and we're not told this. I've saved conservatively, right? I wish I was the kind of person that kept grocery bills or like log groceries or whatever. I wish I was that person. I wasn't. So I had to just do some math, and conservatively, I've saved about $1,680 per year not buying junk food for myself. And I say for myself because I still buy cereal sometimes because my kids are not keto. I still buy bread. I still buy, right? But just the stuff that I've stopped buying for myself. Had I known this information when I had my daughter, this food would have never touched my house. And she would have been used to eating this way. But I didn't know. So, okay. So just for myself, and again, this is a conservative number because I didn't even count in this number all the chocolate bars that I would have bought like throughout the week, just dropping into the depanneur, dropping into the pharmacy, dropping it, right? So I didn't count those things. This is actually just processed food that I was eating. $1,680 per year I saved. That means in the last 6 years, I didn't spend $10,080 on junk food. Can I point out to you, Wellness Warrior, again, I'm fully aware that that number is low because none of my chocolate bars are in there. None of the times I stopped for pizza are there. I only counted groceries, Wellness Warrior. I didn't count the times that I didn't feel like cooking. I didn't count the times that I stopped for a muffin for breakfast. That's not in there. $10,080. I want to know, what do you think you would purchase with an extra $10,000 if you had it laying around, or not, even an extra, what was it? $1,680, right? What would you purchase with that? Put it in the comments. I'm curious. What would you buy? But do you realize that every time that you step out of your house to run to the local corner store to buy some chips, to buy some cookies, to buy some chocolate, right? Because the local corner store now, they make fresh baked cookies to get you, right? Because if they're fresh baked, you're going to buy them. You're going to pay more. It doesn't even make sense because you could go to the grocery store and buy the mix and make the cookies yourself for less and have more. But maybe that's a good thing, is you only end up eating 2 instead of eating the whole 24, whatever. But the point is, they figured out that if they make those cookies, not only do you buy some cookies, but having the place smell delicious when you walk in, you buy more junk food in general, right? There is a method to their madness. Wellness warrior. They're not doing it because they had free time and felt like baking cookies. They're doing it because it gets us to buy more. The same way that people that sell houses bake bread in the oven just before the open house starts so that the house smells like homemade bread, again, to get people to want it. We know that these psychological manipulations exist. And we know that companies are using them, stores are using them. They want us to buy their stuff. I want you to be ahead of them. I want you to do the things that we know, because there is research on the other side. If you go grocery shopping hungry, you buy more. So go grocery shopping after you've eaten to make sure that you don't overpurchase. Right? There are things that we know that we could be doing. Are you doing them? If you go to a restaurant and you don't know what you're going to eat, and it's a restaurant you've never gone to, you don't have a plan. If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail, wellness warrior. You're going to walk in there and you're going to eat the wrong thing. And then possibly be chasing for the next week or 2 or 3, or maybe fall off altogether. My goal is to make sure that you guys stay on track, right? Because this is the most important thing that you're ever going to work on, ever. So you need to do it correctly, right? And I think that sometimes what we need is some support. So I'm going to encourage you to come over and join the squad and talk to people and share your stories and ask questions. When you get over to the squad, talk to people. Yes, of course, I'm going to be talking to you too, but this is not about talking to me. It's about talking to each other. Let's support each other. I wish I had some people to bounce ideas off when my knees first started hurting me, to learn that, hey, if you stop eating potatoes, if you stop eating so much rice, if I would have known that back then, wellness warrior, to be able to feel good, to be able to do my sports properly, I absolutely would have done it. And by the way, just for people who don't know, when that first started happening, when I was 23, I was at a healthy weight. I did not start with weight. This is another thing that most people get wrong. They think, oh, you're going to, if you're eating wrong, is you're going to have a weight issue. No, I had an inflammation issue. It was my joints that were bothering me. And it took years before I started to gain weight. As a matter of fact, my daughter was born. I still wasn't overweight. I gained my weight. I started to gain my weight when she was about 3-ish. And it just went forward from there. So we think that we know these answers. We think that that food is about weight. No, food is about building a healthy body. That's what it's about. Now, obviously, if you're trying to eat out, that means that you're doing keto or carnivore already, right? If you're even thinking about, well, how am I going to eat out doing this? It's because you probably started, right? Or that's not even true. Maybe you haven't started and that's your big concern. Oh, but if I do this, I won't be able to eat out with friends. I've just given you how to do it so that you can eat out with friends. But I also want you to look at these 3 steps that I had that will help you improve your weight loss success overall. So you're doing keto or carnivore, just look at this video. I believe it's more for people doing keto. Look at this video and you're going to see how to improve your weight loss success overall. It's probably for everybody. Let's just go for this. I want you guys to be healthy. I want you to be successful. And I want you to stop struggling. What kind of questions do we have for me today, Wellness Warrior? My camera's working. Yay. I would love to know if you guys have some comments, some questions. And please, if you don't mind, let's put QQQ in front of the questions. Actually, let me just do a quick little survey here. Let's see. Perfect. Okay. So I wanna please QQQ in front of the questions. It's going to help me to pull those out as early as possible. So who do I see? Hello. Hello to Still I Rise. And Mark Janison, I believe. I'm just going to say first names because it's really hard for me sometimes. Yes, I agree. And good morning, sing it. So you're saying you didn't get the sauce on the ribs, and amazed, right? How tasty they were. It's, you know what? I mean, I will tell you one thing that I've learned by doing carnivore is how good food tastes. We think we need recipes. I'm encouraging everybody, just try your meat with just salt. It's delicious. Hello, Hanny. How are you doing? And hello. I'm very happy to see that there's a lot of people and some new names in here. Hello, Smiley. It's nice to see you. Some new names in here. And I definitely feel like, yeah. So saying I was annoyed. Usually do look at the menu. So I guess I missed a part of that last one. Let me go back and see. I feel like I missed something. Okay. So you said they're tasty. They were. Looked up the ingredients when I got home. Dry rub with, yep, brown sugar up. Wasn't sweet, just really tasty. Okay. Okay. So you were obviously annoyed. But like you said, what I knew what ribs with no sauce would be an issue. Okay. Who knew that would know? Okay. So this is part of the reason that I do ask them like what's on their stuff when I go to restaurants. You can't always just tell by looking at them. So hello, Pat. How you doing? You can't always tell just by looking at them. So I do ask some questions. Oh, let me see if I see any more. I would love questions, people. So I want to say Cornell is saying, is this not too much of a topic? I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. I'm having a little bit of a hard time reading what it says. Okay. Is there any benefit in eating mushrooms on a carnivore diet? Because I learned that mushrooms are not a plant. I would encourage you to think about it the other way around. Like, is there benefit to eating any kind of meat? Absolutely. And we see the benefits, obviously. Even though mushrooms aren't a plant, so then what are they? I'm not sure. You probably have to tell me what they are. But even if they're not a plant, unless they have the right balance of amino acids and lipids and like the micronutrients that we need, so that humans need, that animals need, then the benefit is likely not there. So what I'm understanding now for the doctors that I'm listening to is that when you eat animal products, so whether it's fish, whether it's meat, whether it's eggs, and especially eggs, apparently eggs are like the perfect combination of everything to help us, versus like when you eat plants, first of all, they don't typically have all the amino acids in one place that we need. So because mushrooms are not plants, but I don't know what they are if they're not plants, according to what you're telling me, I don't know if they have the right combination of amino acids. But if they did, I would have thought by this point, some other doctor would be talking about the fact that mushrooms come in with exactly the amino acids, exactly the lipids, and exactly the micronutrients that we need. The biggest problem that I'm learning more recently is the lipids. Plant fats in human structures cause problems. And I didn't know that. I'm trying to remember which doctor it was that said that. I'm not remembering his name right now, but it was one of the male doctors that said it. But that's the biggest problem that I would see. So, Cornell, I would encourage you to look at mushrooms if you are going to eat them. And oh, by the way, Again, it's like a little thing that for me, I want to just make sure I put this out there. If you're eating vegetation, then saying that you're doing carnivore is like, it's an oxymoron. It's like, it's not right. Like if you eat vegetation, then you are eating vegetation. And so therefore, yeah, you're not necessarily doing carnivore, right? Like I feel like we need to be very honest with ourselves. Keto is fine. There's no problem with keto. Like when I was only still eating avocado, it was the only thing I had left in my diet. I still was saying I was keto because it's vegetation. So I just want us to be honest with ourselves so that we can benefit from what we're trying to. Every time we lie to ourselves, Wellness Warrior, we stop ourselves from advancing because that lie holds us, right? Because I'm saying I'm doing one thing, but then I'm eating this thing that is not what it like. And my brain sees that, right? Because carnivore, the way it's been defined to me, anyways, is meat, salt, water, right? So, like, and I do understand that there's leeway for spices. Okay, fine. But we have to be careful when we start adding actual plants to our plate or mushrooms to our plate, and we're eating large amounts of this stuff on our plate, then saying that we're carnivore is misnaming it. At that moment, you're keto, which is fine. You're very, very, very low carb keto, which is fine, but it's still keto. So I just want to put that out there because when I was doing like 5 days a week, just meat and fish, no, sorry, not fish, 5 days of just meat and eggs. And I was having avocado maybe twice a week, or sometimes olives or avocado, like one of the two. That's not carnivore. That's keto. So whatever veg you put is the veg you put. I hope that makes sense. Thank you, Pat, for answering that question under fungus. Okay. So, and yes, he already answered you. It's keto. Okay. Okay. So any more questions? I'm looking for questions. And Eva, hello, how are you doing? I can just drink coffee. Thank you for the reminder. I ate a teeny piece of potato. I tried, but spit it out. Tasted like dirt. Taste buds changed. Congratulations. Congratulations. The happiest thing was me figuring out that my taste buds changed. So congratulations. That's the first step to being solid in your healthy. Yeah, you know what? I didn't talk about that today, but I should have. When you're going to eat healthy all the time, so I'm doing it at home, and then when I go out, when I'm at work, when I'm with family, when I'm doing it everywhere, yes, your taste buds change. And then what's really lovely is that the foods you're eating, you actually are happy about them, right? You actually, it's the best thing on the planet when you're excited about the food you're eating and it tastes good to you. And it's the best thing on the planet when you don't want the other food because it no longer tastes good to you. So both of those complement each other so well. And that equals we end up doing better in life. Hello, Christopher. How are you doing? So, is there a question attached to this? Thank you, Still I Rise, for the super sticker. I absolutely appreciate it. So let's see. I would love some questions. So Ian is saying pharmacies always sell the healthiest chocolate bars and of course the best cigarettes too. It's actually surprising to me that in the US the pharmacies sell cigarettes. Do they sell them here in Canada? I don't think we can buy cigarettes in the pharmacy in Canada. Maybe Pat will chime in on that, but I don't ever remember seeing cigarettes in the pharmacy. Absolutely in the corner store, absolutely in other stores, but actually I don't even think I've seen them in the grocery store. I think it's only in the corner store, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't buy them. So yeah. Hello, Lynn. So yes, you would be on your way to Canada or Europe. Now that's a good use of $10,000, right? I think I wish I would have realized how much money I was wasting earlier, but it's amazing. It's amazing that we can be just eating so much garbage and not know, right? Hello, Renee. Thank you for the wishes from Central Florida. I love that. Okay, I feel like when you say meat based, it's an interesting way of classifying something because yeah, I mean I totally get that. But in my mind, I think as long as we're being clear with ourselves and not trying to trick us, right? Food companies have been tricking us for so long, and then food companies get us to trick ourselves by getting us to believe the lie that one time doesn't matter. If I eat this cookie, it's fine. I'll go exercise. And no, the cookie that you ate, or the cake that you ate, or the chips that you ate are in your body now being incorporated into your body in some way. And if we don't let ourselves understand that piece of information, then they can continue to control us. And because they're getting us to believe that these things that they're putting in front of us are harmless, that one piece of the puzzle where I'm saying it's harmless allows me to eat it, allows my sugar to spike, allows me to be still in a chasing scenario where I'm out of control. I'm not actually controlling my health. And if I'm not controlling my health, right? If I'm not the one that's making the true decision because my brain is seeing this stuff and I want it and I have to get it, if that's what's happening to me, then yeah, the food company is getting what they want, but I'm not getting what I want because what I want is good health. What I want is to live a long time. What I want is to live a long time and be happy about how I'm living in the later parts of my life. Those last 10 years, I want them to feel amazing. Are they going to feel amazing if my body is hurting, if my body needs medication just to function? Not likely. So, meat based is probably more accurate. I would agree with that. But I would also say keto is probably the most accurate. And it's not, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? If at some point you want to transition to carnivore, terrific. But can I also point out that the standard American diet, unfortunately, could also be considered meat based, right? Because in their opinion, a hamburger is meat. In their opinion, pizza is meat. In their opinion, lasagna is meat. So if we're talking about just the base of whatever, yeah, in almost every diet that we do, the base is going to be the meat because it's the place where the most calories are coming from, according to how they classify things, because your calories from fat and protein are going to be coming. And that usually ends up being the bulk of the numbers to begin. You know what I mean? So I have a hard time with this one. I think that we need to let the classifications stay what they are and just use them appropriately. So if you're eating any kind of veg, then I think that you're doing keto. Hi, Erin. How you doing? We are typically obvious of what true health looks like. Oh, we're typically, I think you meant to say oblivious of what true health looks like, especially in the context of highly processed garbage. I agree. We eat so much garbage, we have no clue. We have no clue what we could feel like. And when I got here, well, not even here, when I was doing keto and I felt amazing, and then took the potatoes, tomatoes, all the nightshades out and felt even better, it was like, well, wait a minute. Can I feel even better? And slowly, 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 I've gotten here where I'm now carnivore. And it does feel amazing, Wellness Warrior. It does. It does. It's amazing. So I want us to look at what we put on our plate and make some decisions, some good decisions, hopefully, about what you're going to keep, what you're going to let go of. And you don't have to do everything overnight. This is part of the reason I'm saying keto is fine. I was keto for 5.75 years. I was keto. And it's fine. It took me all the way to the point where I was able to say, now I'm going to be carnivore. Right. And The reason it's fine is because our body, according to what medical is saying, can actually manage the 20-ish grams of carbs per day. Now, I say that knowing that my body couldn't manage it. So when they say a body can manage 20 grams of carbs per day, they're talking about a healthy body. Since most of us are not healthy, we need to take that piece of information into consideration. I took it into consideration, and that's why I ended up aiming at no more than 18, but I typically kept myself at 10 when I was doing keto. It was 10 or less. So carnivore is a subset of keto regardless. So I don't mind. Even if I were to flip back and forth a little bit, I don't mind. But right now, my plan is to go forward carnivore because I really do want to see what benefits I can continue to get. I like the fact that by doing carnivore, my tastes have already changed again. And that makes me excited for what other benefits might I see in the long run that I wasn't even aware that I might see. So I have a lot of question marks. I have a lot of things that I want to verify and check. So I'm really hopeful that, yeah, I'm hopeful for all the data I'm going to gather in this process. Oh, that is so sweet, Renee. So yeah, that is so sweet. So I wish strength to all, whether on new journey or being on it for a while. I understand that there are computer glitches today. The like button, to hit the like button. I thank you for encouraging people to hit the like button. I appreciate that. So we have someone, Sharon. I think you're new. Hello, nice. Thanks for joining. Have you ever tried not including salt with carnivore? I know Dr. Chaffee doesn't use salt, and recently I saw Steak and Butter Gal say she doesn't use salt. Actually, if I understand correctly, Dr. Chaffee is not opposed to salt. And when he talks about carnivore, that's what he says. He says, what all you need is meat, salt, water. So he's not opposed to salt. Whether he himself uses it every single time, everybody's different. I think that the longer that you've been eating the right way, the more your body can get what it needs out of the bare basics. So I could tell you, again, it's only been 2 months and a bit. And when I first started carnivore, I had to add so much more salt to my food. But I already feel like it's coming down, and like I'm able to have less salt on my food now. So I don't think that it's a one size fits all when it comes to salt. And that's part of the reason that I have a video on my channel where Dr. Nicolandino, I hope I'm saying his name right, and Dr. Barry were having a conversation. I have a clip of, and I have a video talking about their conversation. And I believe Salt, Dr. Nicoland, I can't say his name, is in the title of it if you want to look it up. And what their point was is salt your food to taste, right? So if you put too little salt, you're going to feel like it's missing salt. If you put too much salt, you're going to feel like, oh, it's okay, it's gross now, it's too much salt. If you salt your food to taste, according to them, then eventually you're going to get the right amount, first of all, and then your body's going to be able to do what it's supposed to do. Now, part of the reason that having enough salt in our diet is just crucial is because we have this sodium potassium pump that needs to function perfectly. And again, in that video, I talk about how the pump functions. I talk about the concentration inside versus outside the cell, because there's a difference between concentrations that inside the cell, one of them is higher than the other, and outside the cell, right? So like potassium is higher in one spot than the other spot, and sodium is higher in one spot than the other spot. And that's what helps the cell to control what comes in and out of its of its cell, crossing its membranes, for example. And what's really important is that every single cell in our body has these pumps. So we need enough salt in our diet and potassium in our diet to support the function of these pumps. So we can't just ignore salt. Like, we need it. But we can't overdo it either, because then the balance is out of whack and we'd have not enough potassium for the amount of sodium, right? So there needs to be balance. So that's my answer to that, Sharon. I hope that was clear. And Smiley is asking, how much protein do I eat in a day? Not sure how much is right. Do you follow 1 gram per pound? Yes, I would say that I do follow I was following the 1 gram per pound kind of accidentally because I was more doing what Dr. Baker encouraged. And Dr. Chaffee also encourages it now that I think about our conversation. I was doing the eat until you're comfortably stuffed when I was doing carnivore days. So if there's no veg on my plate at all during my day, I was eating to comfortably stuffed. And then on keto days, I was eating to satiation. And so when you look at my week, right? Because that one day or two that I might have had an avocado, I was having somewhere between 300 grams of meat on the days that I had avocado. And then I can definitely get up to a pound easily. Like that's a normal meal. And then more recently, since I did the challenge, I'm for sure getting more than a pound of protein. So whether it's meat plus some little scallops or meat plus eggs. Well, no, there's always eggs. So meat, eggs plus scallops or meat, eggs. What was the other thing I was going to say? I can't remember. It's the other thing I put on my plate. I mean, if I have fish, I wouldn't have the meat. So then it would be fish and eggs, right? And sometimes I have bacon with that. So it all depends on what I'm doing. I just kind of make my plate based on what's available in the fridge and what I feel like having. Excuse me. So Singa says, that's crazy. Burgers, pizza, totally carb based. Yeah. But this is the thing, right? According to them, it's not. So hello, Jammer. I don't think I've seen you before. No carbs, no sweet. That's it. That's absolutely for sure. No sweets. Like that's absolutely what we're saying. Never have sweets. But like if you're doing carnivore, you can't necessarily not have carbs because, again, going back to the lies that we're told, almost everything has carbs in it. Like, so even when you eat meat, there's a small amount of carbs in it because our muscles are where carbohydrates are stored, right? They never talk about that in the numbers, right? But it's because it's irrelevant. Like when lions eat meat, they don't worry about gaining weight, right? So it's not necessary to talk about it, but it's impossible to avoid carbohydrates. So when you write no carbs, that always makes me, because I'm not trying to be pretending anything up here. Eggs have carbohydrates in them, right? And so there's a little bit in meat. So I'm not trying to pretending up here. But what we're saying is we're not eating vegetation. And so therefore we're not focusing on carbs. And if you say don't focus on carbs, absolutely. And I would say, but do not eat sweets. That's 100%. But don't focus on carbohydrates. So don't focus on any plants as your meal source. Don't focus on any processed foods even. Like, so since starting to do this lifestyle, the only processed foods that I'm still eating is heavy cream, because you can't get away from that, right? It's like that's how you get it. What else? Well, obviously bacon, right? So like there's certain things that, and bacon, again, there's sugar in that, so you need to know. So there's certain things where you're just not going to get away from it. It's there. You cannot live a life where there's zero carbs coming in, right? But you never need to purposefully eat them. So if you don't eat any plants, your body makes all the sugar that you need. So I hope that clarifies. I don't like to mislead. I want you to understand that what I'm saying. And I don't want people to think, because cheese, which is another thing that people on carnivore seem to be eating, because it's an animal product, right? So again, we're animal product versus plant product. And there's carbohydrates in cheese, right? Is it the best thing to eat? No, for different reasons, right? It's like, I mean, the galactose in cheese, one of those things that can only be like 90% of it is processed by your liver. So that's not great. right? But if you're choosing the low carb cheeses, maybe you're going to be okay if you're keeping the number low enough. But these are things that part of our go back to, are you just following somebody else's recipe? You don't really know what you're trying to accomplish? Or are you doing the thing for you that helps you to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish? And I think that until we start making that differentiation, we're going to keep believing that we're doing what's healthiest, but we're not. And that's frustrating to me, Wellness Warrior, because I want you to do what's healthiest. Yeah, we're going to be seeing that eclipse as well, Jammer. I'm not sure. I mean, seeing it. I won't be looking at it, but it's going to be happening. We'll be in the position to see it as well. So I hope that everyone stays safe. Don't look at that, please. I wouldn't even look at it with the glasses. That's personal opinion. I'm not even going to look at it with the glasses. I don't think it's a safe thing to do. We think we know better than Mother Nature, but scientists have already figured out that those rays can blind us. So I wouldn't take the chance. And I encourage everyone to warrior, watch it on the news. They're going to have special cameras that can film it. Watch it on the news. So protein drinks, I think that any processed food should be avoided. If you want protein, I encourage you to eat real food. And you can get protein in a lot of things. You can have some eggs. You can have any kind of meat you like, any kind of fish you like, any kind of poultry you like. So I would encourage you to eat real food, Nancy. That's my talk about protein drinks. I'll add to that, Nancy, is you're talking now about weight loss. I will add to that, protein drinks often either have plant proteins, which are much less bioavailable to us, so that's wasting our time, or they have whey protein, which I've only recently learned that whey protein actually is negative towards weight loss, right? It can cause, it does cause, not can, it causes insulin spikes and it causes health issues. So whey protein shakes that are aimed at weight loss are just like oxymoron. They don't function. So I would also say just eat real food. Yeah, you know what? I think I remember that even in the 80s that people were trying to do that, but I also remember in the 80s our science teacher saying, "Please don't do that, it doesn't work." So again, there's so many things that we think we know, and then like, yeah, a painted cardboard with a pinhole doesn't actually stop the rays from harming our eyes. So yeah. And I have a question from someone who is saying, if what happens if they want to gain weight? Um, if you're doing a keto or carnivore diet that's well formulated, if weight gain is the goal, you can gain weight. It's about making sure you eat enough. And regardless of whether you want to gain weight or lose weight, it's always about eat enough. And I know that sounds contradictory. We think to lose weight, we should eat less. Again, go and watch my video that I did recently about eating extra protein every single day. There's a bunch of eggs on the thumbnail. Eating more helped me to lose weight, strangely enough, and get stronger. But eating more will also help you to put on healthy muscle. So we think that we need to quickly put it on, and that's where we get confused. I don't think that there's a reason to quickly put it on. Most of the time, when something happens quickly, it's hard to sustain. I'm encouraging people, take the time to slowly eat what you're supposed to eat. So the healthy foods, so that when you do get to the place where you're at the weight you want to be, you feel good, right? So if I do that, if I eat the healthy foods every single day and I leave the junk away, I'm going to end up building a better quality body. That better quality body is going to have more energy and it's going to encourage me to go and do more. So one of the things I've noticed since um when I started keto, I noticed I was waking up earlier and easier, like just easier. I didn't have to snooze a bunch of times. But when I did started carnivore more recently, that's when it all changed. Like I'm getting up in the morning with energy enough to do an exercise routine right away, where I never felt like that. I always felt like, kind of like, even though I was getting up and not snoozing, I still wasn't feeling like, okay, I'm ready to go tackle the, do a bunch of stuff. And now every single morning, without fail, I'm rebounding on my rebounder every single morning without fail. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So I definitely feel like if you want to improve health in general, eating properly is always going to be part of the answer. There's no doubt in my mind about that. Eating properly will always be part of the answer. Terrific, Nancy. I'm glad that I answered your question. And I definitely think that if you have something to solve, doing weight loss the healthy way is the only way to do it, because when you eat a ketogenic lifestyle, the reason that you end up losing weight is because your body is healing, right? So it's like as you stop putting the wrong thing in your body is able to start focusing on cleaning up, focusing on letting go of energy that it's been holding on to, which, by the way, inside of the energy that it's holding on to are often sequestered toxins that it was trying to keep from harming you. So we also need to be careful that a lot of people, when they start losing weight, end up getting rashes, end up having like some tummy disturbance, end up having some things happen. Oxalate dumping is another thing that people can live because their body starts to let go of the toxins that are being held in the fat. And it's unfortunate that we sometimes are so rushed to lose weight, and we just want it to happen, that we're not listening to our body telling us that maybe we need to slow it down a little bit. So especially if you end up with oxalate dumping, do not be afraid to slow down the process and take your time, because it's better for you to slowly lose weight that you can keep off forever than to rush weight loss and possibly hurt yourself, right? Most people can manage a rash and they're not going to care about a rash. But if you have any aches or pains or things that, right, you need to be paying attention to yourself. If you want more information on that, you can check out my video from Sally Norton that I did, that she talks about that. It was surprising to me to learn that losing weight could actually stir up some issues with the oxalates that have been trapped in your body for years, right? The good news though is once you lost the weight, or if you haven't had any issues with your weight loss so far, it's really just about paying attention for it. If it happens, pay attention, slow down. But if nothing happens, the positive is that over time, because our body is constantly rebuilding itself, over time, your body will release those oxalates out of you. And then you will be as oxalate free as we can be, based on what the animals eat as well, right? So if you're keto, as oxalate free as the foods you're eating. If you're carnivore, as oxalate free as you and as the meat that you're eating is, if that makes sense. So you're asking if keto is recommended for longevity. And so I would say yes, because whenever we're healthy, we would live longer, right? If my body is healthy, there's no reason for me not to be here. Now, a lot of people don't start off doing keto for longevity. A lot of people start off doing keto because they're trying to What are the reasons? Sometimes they're trying to heal something specific. So like in my case, I had joint issues that I was trying to heal. Sometimes it's more internal stuff like heart issues or so. And some people actually do start keto. Like I had one person that I interviewed. Wow, I'm not going to remember her name right now. Oh, that's bad. But she didn't have a weight issue. She just was talking to her mom, who was a nurse, and they were talking about medical stuff. And mom talked about the benefits of keto. And she just decided to start because, well, why wait until you have a medical issue when you can solve it right now? And so that's what she decided to do. If I remember her name, I'll say it later. But that to me, that was perfection, right? Thank you very much for subscribing. I'm very happy to hear that you find my videos very good. Actually, I feel like I missed. Yes, I did miss one super sticker earlier. So I just want to make sure I got that up on the screen as well. Thank you very much to both of you. All three of you, actually, because there was a third one right here. I want to thank everyone who's contributing. Uh, all of that money goes towards helping me to have time to do stuff, do more research, especially. Some of these videos take like 40, 80 hours for me to do all the research I need to do. And so I do appreciate when people contribute because I appreciate it. Oh, that is terrific, Sharon. I would love it. You know what? Tag me in the next video that I put up. Like put a comment to say if you actually bring it up. I would love to hear that you actually did it. That is so cool. Just like in the next video that I put up, just say, hey, I brought it up. Um, that would be amazing. I think we should all be doing something fun and energized in the morning. Some people like to do like aerobics and like dance stuff. But I definitely feel like the cool thing about the rebounder is there's no like, or there's, I should say no, but there's not a lot of pressure on your joints. So again, coming from a place where I had joint issues, I wanted to make sure I had something that's not a lot of pressure, although I still rollerblade and longboard and ski and snowboard. So I'm not really trying that hard to stop my body from having pressure, but it's still good to have those daily things that you can do that don't cause pressure problems. And more recently, I've been trying to do some pull-ups to my routine, and that's going to be a process because pull-ups are really hard. So I see a comment here that says from Chris Gibbon saying that you lost type 2 pre-diabetes over 1 year slowly and lost 3 stones, which I'm not really sure how much that is in pounds, but it sounds like a lot. I'm living keto, not dieting, and I was spurred along with fasting, okay, and autophagy, which blew my mind repairing my body. One of the things that is cool, and we don't often think about this, but when we eat the right foods, we're just less hungry. And it frustrates me when people say that keto suppresses appetite because I feel like that's not what's happening. And it makes people believe that anything that suppresses appetite is healthy because you can take medication that suppresses appetite. And if you say keto, like it makes them think, well, they're equivalent. They're not. Keto doesn't suppress your appetite, but when you eat the right foods and your body does two things, it has the energy it needs to do what it needs to do for you, but also it starts tapping into the fat that you've been storing for years that it needs to be used as energy. That's the way it's going to get off your body, right? It needs to be used as energy. Then all of a sudden, we've created a situation where by eating the right foods, I can go longer between meals because those right foods not only fueled me in the moment and gave me the building blocks that I need to repair myself, but allows me to open up this freezer full of energy that I've had on my body for years and start using that. So my appetite is it feels like I have less of an appetite because my body is using energy that I already had on me. And how do I know that to be the case? Because once you get to your normal weight and your body isn't pulling any more energy off you, you start eating more and your weight stays stable, which is terrific. And also, the energy is great. So, the fact that you can intermittently fast, which is the thing that people, whether you're fasting for just a few hours a day, like let's say you're doing one meal a day, for example, or whether you're fasting for 2 or 3 days per week, the fact that you can do that is because your body is tapping into energy that it already had on board. So that's perfect. Yeah. So, so yes, sing it. Sometimes the projects that I'm working on, I'm reading a book, I'm watching a bunch of videos, I'm doing that. Yep. So sometimes a week or two worth of like a work week. Yeah. As soon as you finish eating yours, you're gonna get it up there. So you also, sorry, did I pick the wrong one? As soon as I finish my eggs, I'm going to get it up here. So that makes me believe that you also have a rebounder. Are you going to bring your rebounder upstairs today? That's terrific. And let's see. Uh, okay. So, um, I have access to the fat trimmed from ribs at a restaurant, Violet. I have felt so calm and satiated adding it to my meals. Okay. Hormone balancing out. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. I do feel, again, are we eating enough of what our body needs to be able to do what it's trying to do to accomplish a healthy body for us? So I'm definitely going to say that by adding a little bit of extra fat, and especially it's a healthy fat, right? Because coming from the ribs, that's cool. You know what? I need to figure out how to get some relationships with my butcher or my local like restaurants that make ribs or something. I don't know. That's a cool hack. Sing it. Thanks for sharing that to people. I would love to know if anybody jumps on that hack. Maybe next live stream you can ask that question out. Sing it. If anyone jumped on that hack and tried to reach out to a restaurant or a butcher to get that little bit of extra fat that we can add back to our other things that we're eating. That to me sounds amazing. So that looks like is the end of our questions and comments for today. And so, Wellness Warrior, I am so happy that you joined me. Check out the video that's linked in the description and at the end. That's going to help you to lose your weight. 3 simple steps. You're going to lose weight. It's going to be fine. And I'll talk to you guys next week. Enjoy the rest of your day.